I did a master's at the University of Ghent in biotechnology. And already within my master thesis, I got in touch with the use of microorganisms, such as yeast. That was Pichia pastoris, actually, at that time, for the production of proteins that are of interest to us. And at that stage, it was mainly then focusing on proteins that could be of interest for therapeutic use. And that's what already triggered with me a little bit the interest in using microorganisms to help our lives improve, to help improve the quality of life. And then I started doing a PhD at the University of Ghent, which was again focused around how can we get microorganisms to express then human proteins of therapeutic value, but particularly also with the intention to not only get the human protein, but also to get some of the modifications that are specific for human proteins onto it, so that the yeast not only makes the human protein, but also the human-specific modifications on top of it, because that would make them more valuable for all types of applications. And that was kind of the core business of my PhD before I then moved on from the academics to more the biotech companies.
I did my study in Wageningen, at the Agricultural University of Wageningen in the Netherlands, industrial microbiology. And doing my master's, I got interested for microbiology and applied microbiology. So I also did a PhD at the Agricultural University on that, studying both the formation of chemicals using microorganisms, as well as the degradation of more toxic chemicals using microbiology. And then afterwards, also during my work at DSM in innovation, I have been working continued my work in that field.
That was kind of a coincidence. Basically, a very interesting coincidence that occurred because after graduating from my PhD thesis, I became part of Oxurain Belgium, which was a company that was designed around getting therapies from expression in yeast, such as Yaroia lipolytica. And basically, we ended up with a nice production strain to target a certain disease. And so that one was kind of ready to go into clinical studies. But then we were kind of wondering, now we have this very nice team of microbiologists and purification people and protein characterization people and a nice infrastructure to do all this work. And the thing was now, well, we would like to continue with the team and with the infrastructure, and we are looking for another challenging topic to address. And that's via we came across the investors in those Vegan Cowboys, Jaap and Nico. And one thing led to the other. They were looking for a dedicated team to start doing the work they were dreaming of, and that is to enable the production of good dairy products, but without the use of a cow. And we were kind of an equipped lab and a professional team that would be able to take on the challenge. So one thing led to the other. And well, in terms of how you look at it, in terms of sustainability, animal welfare, climate change, everybody and the company was immediately very enthusiastic to take on that endeavor. And that's how we became the new milk lab within those Vegan Cowboys.
Maybe good to add to that, because you refer to Jaap Korteweg and Nico Kofferman, the founders of those Vegan Cowboys. They were also the founders of the Vegetarian Butcher. And the Vegetarian Butcher, they started that about 10 years ago, when there was a desire for good tasting meat alternatives, but it was not available. So they started their own company, developed that very successfully, And at the end of 2018, they sold that to Unilever. And so you could say mission completed, and they asked themselves what to do next. And the next one was indeed, as Steven was referring, let's now focus at the dairy industry. Also a very large industry where, sustainability is lacking, and can't we do that better? And again, then you look at precision fermentation, you look at cellular biology, microbiology to achieve that.
Yeah, so in first instance, what we will be doing is to put, for now, the focus on the production of the proteins that are important within milk. And in first instance, even we will go for the proteins that are important to make the cheese, which is a specific set of proteins. They are called the caseins. And that's our first target. So basically what we want to do is to introduce the genetic information of these proteins into fungal organisms, fungal strains. And we are currently looking at what type of yeast or fungal organisms could be best fitted to do this work and to really produce the caseins, and later on to produce them in sufficient high titers so that we can really develop a process that is commercially workable, that is scalable. So that will be the first main topic, really looking for which is the best background strain, which is the best chassis to kind of be able, via genetic engineering, to produce and secrete the caseins within the fermentation broth. Because basically, once we have the genetically modified organism, the intention is that we will grow it in large bioreactor cultivations under controlled conditions, and we will look then also, of course, for those conditions that are best fitted with the production of the caseins by these microorganisms. So that's how we would like to kind of interchange the living cow with kind of a metal cow, a stainless steel cow, being the fermenter reactor, where we are producing these proteins that are important for certain dairy products, which we can then, of course, combine with plant-derived fats, for instance, and interesting sugars, and that are important to then finally make up the dairy product like a cheese.
We don't have the process developed yet, but what we do have is we do have a very nice name for our iron fermenter, and that is the Iron Lady. Iron Lady Margaret. We at the end of the day will use to produce the caseins of interest. The first product, as I mentioned, we are still at the beginning of developing the organism, developing the process. That will take some time, but believe me, when this is being broadcasted or available for the public, our first product will be in the stores, and have a look for that in due time. And that will be a cheese. We will be targeting cheese.
It's the one thing that if international food organizations kind of ask currently vegetarians, vegans, but also flexitarians, like within the realm of plant-based food, what are you now missing the most that is really looking like, having the texture as and tasting like real animal-derived products? Then the big answer is cheese. People are missing cheese because either the taste is not really right, or the texture is not really right, or it's not melting the way you would like it to be. And these attributes of the cheese are really because of the caseins within the milk. And there are no other proteins in nature that have these same attributes as the milk caseins. So if you really want to have a cheese that has the same attributes as the current dairy cheese, you really need to work with these caseins. And so the only way to do that then without using animals will be the fermentative production of these caseins. And that's why we really want to go for the cheese market, because we see and we hear that there is a big need for that. Particularly if we also want to convince the flexitarians to start taking up these type of products, because the flexitarians are still thinking about it also needs to taste good, and they are not just convinced by the animal welfare thing like a vegan or a vegetarian. And they want to really have also the good taste and the good texture associated with it, because vegans and vegetarians sometimes say, for me, it's really good enough because I really have, this idea. I don't want any animal-derived products. For flexitarians, you need to add up a little bit more to that. And we need this transition in the food industry, thinking about what will happen in the future when the world population keeps on increasing. We cannot feed everybody anymore really based on an animal-derived diet. That would be detrimental to the world, I think, and to the environment and the climate.
I think the question is, how will we do that? Because we are looking more into the future. Having said that, those vegan cowboys are quite active on social media. So look on Twitter, look on LinkedIn, you will find us. And we view that is important to bring the message to the people that a good alternative vegan cheese, a good tasting, having a good mouthfeel, etc., is coming to the market, but it still takes some time. Yeah, I don't know whether you want to add something to that.
Yeah, it's indeed. We have our website, we have all the types of social media, and it's just important, I think, indeed, to gradually make people used to the fact that there are other ways of producing good quality food products than just only what people know most, that is the animal derived products, but also to make people aware, like, okay, in this way it's going to be also based on a microbial fermentation. And people at this stage might think weird about this. I mean, a microbe producing the ingredient for my food, is that not strange? Can I really trust this? And I think we need to build onto that and gradually make people aware of this transition and why it's really not such a bad idea to do so. I mean, effectively, in the cheese production process, a lot of the cheeses worldwide are produced using an enzyme that used to be taken out of the stomachs of calves, but is now also produced by a microorganism. So I think 70 to 80% of the cheeses on the market are being produced by an enzyme that is being produced by a microorganism. So people, without even realizing, are already eating cheese based on microbially produced ingredients. And that's the message that we want to convey, to make sure that people gradually start becoming aware of that and go into that direction as well.
Yeah, and that the acceptance of that technology, of course, is also different when we compare the US versus Europe. We see that there are clear differences, and we will have to take that into account as well.
Europe is definitely a little bit conservative about it. US is more open to it, and it's definitely indeed something that will that we need to work onto. Yeah.
Of course, this the fact that we are producing our key ingredient, the caseins, via a microbial process also means that we have to go through a regulatory approval because it's we insert a gene that is not present in the organism, in the fungus now. So we are using recombinant DNA technology, but we are doing that for a reason, and we have to make sure that our product is safe. And we can do that, as Steven was pointing out, for other enzymes, even used within cheese. That has been done. we want to do it now also for the casein, which has a higher content within cheese.
Also, to give you an idea, we are also supporting a consortium that includes, for instance, several teams within the University of Wageningen that is also going to do some research about animal-free dairy products. But part of their research is also going to be looking at how people look at these things, food ingredients that have been produced by microorganisms, by genetically manipulated organisms, and really look from another, not really from a scientific, hardcore scientific viewpoint, but also a social, a communicative viewpoint towards how will people, consumers, potential consumers, look at all these aspects of how the new products and the microbial-based products are going to be produced. So just to give you an idea that we're not thinking only about the hardcore biotechnology, but also about the impact that it will give on society.
It has a bright future for sure. And it will be applied much broader than we are seeing it nowadays. Of course, when we think about the production of enzymes is big. Within pharma, it is already well established. But we will see it much more also when we look at the big challenges that we all face. And whether that is for food or whether it is for in agriculture as such, we will see much more of that.
Yeah, you have the two things. You have the cellular fermentation on the one hand, people focusing really on growing certain types of cells, microbes, microorganisms that have a very good mixture of different types of proteins and amino acid compositions that will really be helpful in getting towards good quality food products in terms of the richness of the amino acids. And on the other hand, you also have what we are doing in the precision fermentation, where we really want to generate high quality protein components, but it can also be in future fat components. For instance, you have yeast species that are very relevant for the production of fatty acids and lipids. And you could also, even in the case of dairy, you could have a look at which fats are really important to give cheese also this good taste apart from the proteins. And you could also start by going to genetically manipulate these microorganisms so that they produce really the fats that are mimicking almost exactly the fats that are being produced in milk. So to enrich again the flavor of your dairy products. So basically there's a whole type of opportunities that can go open by just using fermentation, microorganisms, precision fermentation in the food industry.